When we picture pirates, we often think of treasure maps, rum, and the Jolly Roger flying high. But the reality was far more brutal. Pirates were outlaws of the sea, striking fear into sailors, merchants, and even entire nations. In this video, we'll uncover the 10 most feared pirates in history. From ruthless raiders to cunning captains, these men and women left behind a legacy of terror that still fascinates us today. So, tighten your ropes and keep your cutlasses sharp, because here come the deadliest pirates who ever lived. Anne Bonny wasn't your ordinary pirate. Born in Ireland and raised in the Americas, she defied expectations of women at the time. Disguising herself as a man on deck, she fought alongside Calico Jack Rackham and became infamous for her fiery temper and fearlessness in battle. Anne Bonny showed the world that piracy wasn't just a man's game, and her legend has never faded. Bartholomew Roberts, better known as Black Bart, was one of the most successful pirates in history. In just a few short years, he captured over 400 ships. He was disciplined, dressed in fine clothes, and demanded respect from his crew. Unlike many pirates, Roberts enforced rules and even banned drinking on board. His effectiveness made him a nightmare for European shipping lines. Perhaps the most powerful female pirate who ever lived, Qingxi commanded an enormous fleet in the South China Sea. With up to 1,800 ships and 70,000 pirates under her control, she created a strict pirate code and defeated imperial Chinese navies, Portuguese fleets, and even the British. Incredibly, she retired peacefully and lived to old age, something almost no pirate managed to do. Edward Lowe was infamous not only for piracy, but for pure cruelty. Known for sadistic punishments, Lowe struck terror into his victims. He burned ships, mutilated captives, and became one of the most feared figures of the early 18th century. Even hardened sailors told stories of his savagery. His reign of terror made him infamous across the Atlantic. Sometimes called the King of Pirates, Henry Every carried out one of the greatest heists in pirate history. In 1695, he captured the Mughal treasure ship Gangasawi, loaded with gold and jewels. This raid sparked a massive international manhunt. Every vanished without a trace, and his fate remains a mystery. Legend inspired countless pirate tales. While not the most successful pirate in terms of captures, Calico Jack became famous thanks to his flamboyant clothing and his 2 female crew members, Anne Bonny and Mary Read. He was a symbol of rebellion and style, flying the infamous Jolly Roger flag with skull and crossed swords. His story ended on the gallows, but his legend lives on, known as the Flail of the Spanish. Francois Lalonnet was a French pirate in the Caribbean who became infamous for his brutality. He had a reputation for torturing prisoners and was said to have once cut out a man's heart and eaten it. His cruelty was so extreme that even fellow pirates feared him. Eventually, karma caught up to him when he was killed by cannibals in Central America. William Kidd started as a privateer, authorized to attack enemy ships, but he slipped into full piracy. His trial and execution in London turned him into a legendary figure. The myth of Captain Kidd's buried treasure has captured imaginations for centuries, inspiring treasure hunters around the world. No pirate is as famous as Blackbeard. With his long black beard and terrifying appearance, often lighting slow-burning fuses in his beard to look like a demon in battle, he terrified sailors. At the sight of his ship, Queen Anne's Revenge, Blackbeard's reputation was so fierce that sometimes ships surrendered without a fight. His death in 1718 was as dramatic as his life. He was shot and stabbed multiple times before finally falling. While Blackbeard might be the most famous, many historians argue that the most feared pirate of all time was Qingxi. Unlike others, she wasn't just a raider, she ran a vast empire at sea, more powerful than many governments. She bent nations to her will and left a legacy unmatched in pirate history. Pirates were more than just outlaws. They were products of their time, rebellion against empire, symbols of freedom, but also figures of terror. From Blackbeard's flaming beard to Qingxi's vast armada, their names continue to echo across the seas. Which of these pirates do you think was the most feared? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this dive into pirate history, be sure to like and subscribe for more stories from the past. Imagine sailing across the Atlantic in the early 1700s. The sea is calm. The wind is steady, and your ship is heavy with goods, sugar, rum, spices, and gold. But then, on the horizon, black sails appear. The Jolly Roger rises. Da-da! Panic spreads through the crew. You know what's coming? These are no ordinary sailors. These are pirates, and surrender might be the only chance to survive. Pirates ruled the seas for centuries, and their names were whispered with fear in every port city. They were cunning, ruthless, and sometimes downright terrifying. But among the thousands who turned to piracy, a few stood out so notorious that their legends still live on today. In this video, we'll count down the 10 most feared pirates in history. Some commanded entire navies of thieves. Others became famous for their cruelty. Some became so powerful that even empires tried and failed to stop them. So grab your cutlass and keep your eyes on the horizon, because here come the deadliest pirates ever to sail the seas. Anne Bonny's story begins in Ireland, but her legend was forged in the Caribbean. Unlike many pirates, Anne didn't turn to the sea out of desperation. She chose it out of rebellion. Known for her fiery red hair and equally fiery temper, she disguised herself as a man to earn respect among the crew. Sailing with Calico Jack Rackham, and quickly proved she wasn't just there for show. She fought in boarding actions, carried weapons, and cursed louder than most men on deck. Sailors who crossed her described her as fearless in battle, slashing with her cutlass and firing pistols without hesitation. When Rackham's crew was finally captured by the British, most of his men cowered in the hold, too drunk to fight. But not Anne. Alongside another female pirate, Mary Read, she stayed on deck, resisting to the end. Before Rackham was executed, Anne reportedly visited him in prison. Last words to him were cold and sharp. "Had you fought like a man, you need not be hanged like a dog." Anne Bonny vanished from the records after that. Some say she was released, others claim she escaped. Whatever the truth, her legend has lived for centuries as proof that piracy was indeed just a man's world. Bartholomew Roberts, better known as Black Bart, might not be as famous as Blackbeard, but he was far more successful. In just 3 years, Roberts captured more than 400 ships, making him one of the most feared pirates in history. Roberts was different from most pirates. He wasn't a drunken brawler or a wild gambler. He dressed in fine clothes, carried himself like a gentleman, and kept a strict code of discipline aboard his ship. He even banned gambling and drinking, which most pirates considered essential to life at sea. But don't mistake his discipline for kindness. Roberts was as ruthless as he was effective. His black flag showed a skeleton holding an hourglass, an image that told his victims their time was running out. When Roberts appeared on the horizon, ships often surrendered without firing a shot. His reputation alone was enough to spread terror across the Atlantic. In 1722, the British Royal Navy finally caught up with him. Roberts was killed in battle, but his crew followed his final command. They threw his body overboard, so he would never be hanged or displayed as a trophy. To this day, he remains one of the most formidable pirates who ever lived.